was obviously our study created with IACCM and myself, where we identified, as you might remember from last week, that 70% of all negotiations are actually happening virtually. And Mark, a challenging question is, how do we improve our body language in an email negotiation?
Yeah, so, I want to go back to an element that I was talking about last time, which is when insufficient data, we always default to a negative. So to improve the data somebody's getting about your body language, what you want to do is improve the data that they have on your feeling and intention towards.
Mike, thanks, Mark. I know that was an unfair question just to throw at you, how we improve our body language in an email, but it is kind of important since we do email and negotiate a lot by email, and I would even add too much by email. Now, these slides up here, I know it's a little bit confusing, and I promise I will send out a copy of that to everybody participating today. But this is basically a platform I created to show you which of the platforms you should utilize in which situation.
At cultural body language. And the reason I'm going to give you a very, very simple model is that it's so specific that really I would need specific questions about specific cultures to understand or to give you any help, really. But look, here's what culture does. It suppresses or it amplifies certain behaviors and certain expressions that we...
And as you can see on the screen right now, I've created a slide showing you the three strategies we talked about last week: partnership, and zero sum. And if we look down at the horizontal line down here, you can see that cooperation, compromise, stalling, combat, and unilateral concessions are basically 5 different styles, the 5 chapters in how we read and understand the counterpart. That's really how we can divide that into the different strategies. So that's how I'm going to attack this topic today. Let's start with the combative one. A combative negotiator is something that you will see quite often these days because they just spike. The second we have a crisis, and without saying, if I'm combative, I see it as a weakness to share any kind of intentions, value, purpose, goals.
Yeah, I mean, great. Let's just look at, I guess, the metaphor you've used here, which is combative. So it's
Anyway, let's move into concession as a completely different style. And concession is quite opposite to combative because concession, and especially
of the skin somewhere, okay, which actually improves our feeling of connectedness and by raising oxytocin. But it usually suggests that there's some trouble there, that somebody isn't feeling in control. Because often some of these gestures, okay, that are...
So they might be saying, well, you know what, we can't finish this negotiation today. We have to postpone it a couple of weeks because we have to look into the market. I have to talk to my boss.
Given the rapidity of that. But if suddenly things...
Let's jump in and look at compromise. And compromise is something that some people find is a necessary part of negotiation. Let's look at collaboration, the final one of the 5 different styles we're talking about. Now, how do we identify collaboration? May even be the easiest one to identify, but still, it's important to identify it so we don't use combat if we're sitting in front of somebody who truly want to...
Right, so they might verbally say, look, I want to be really open and transparent with you right now. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you right now. The best piece of advice I can do is sublimate the argument into some paper somewhere.
That was $1 million piece of advice right there, Mark. Thank you so much. And make sure that we